បាទសូមជម្រាបសួរប្រិយមិត្តទូរទស្សនិកជនទាំងអស់ដែលកំពុងតាមដានទស្សនាការផ្សាយផ្ទាល់របស់មជ្ឈមណ្ឌលកម្ពុជា 4.0 បាទសូមស្វាគមន៍មកកាន់កិច្ចសន្ទនាពិសេសដែលមជ្ឈមណ្ឌលកម្ពុជា 4.0 រៀបចំនារសៀលនេះក្រោមប្រធានបទ NFT បាទថ្ងៃនេះគឺខុសពីសមមួយដងដោយសារតែប្រធានបទនៃកិច្ចពិភាក្សាផ្សាយផ្ទាល់របស់យើងនៅពេលនេះគឺមិនដូចគ្នាទៅនឹងប្រធានបទប្រចាំខែរបស់យើងនោះទេបាទអញ្ចឹងកន្លងមកដោយដែលអាដាមលោកជំទាវអស់លោកស្រីប្រិយមិត្តទាំងអស់ដែលជានិច្ចកាលគ្រប់គ្រងនិងតាមដានរាល់ការផ្សព្វផ្សាយរបស់មជ្ឈមណ្ឌលកម្ពុជា 4.0 បានជ្រាបគឺមជ្ឈមណ្ឌលកម្ពុជា 4.0 តែងតែរៀបចំនៅកិច្ចសន្ទនាកម្មវិធីជជែកពីកម្ពុជា 4.0 ដែលផ្ដោតទៅលើប្រធានបទដែលយើងមានជាប្រចាំខែបាទថ្ងៃនេះយើងនឹងមានកិច្ចសន្ទនាពិសេសថ្មីមួយបាទដោយផ្ដោតទៅលើប្រធានបទដែលឡែកមួយដែលខុសពីប្រធានបទប្រចាំខែរបស់យើងបាទគឺ NFT បាទ NFT នេះខ្ញុំបាទអាចសូមបញ្ជាក់ជូនបន្តិចថាគឺតំណាងឲ្យ Non-Fungible Token បាទអញ្ចឹងគឺ NFT ជាពាក្យពេញបាទប៉ុន្តែក៏មិនទាន់ជាជម្រាបជូនលម្អិតពាក់ព័ន្ធទៅនឹង NFT នេះដែរគឺទុកជូននាទីនេះជូនទៅដល់វាគ្មិនកិត្តិយសរបស់យើងបាទសម្រាប់រសៀលនេះផ្ទាល់មជ្ឈមណ្ឌលកម្ពុជា 4.0 មានកិត្តិយសដោយទទួលការចូលរួមពីលោកស្រីបណ្ឌិតប៉ាន់នេត្រាបាទដែលលោកស្រីគឺជាសាស្ត្រាចារ្យផ្នែកសហគ្រិនភាពនៅឯ Base Business School បាទខ្ញុំបាទសូមជម្រាបសួរលោកស្រីនេត្រាបាទ
ចាជំរាបសួរអរគុណច្រើនសវណ្ណរតជំរាបសួរទាំងអស់គ្នា
បាទខ្ញុំបាទសូមអនុញ្ញាតជម្រាបជូនថាលោកស្រីប៉ានេត្រាទទួលបានបណ្ឌិតបាទសញ្ញាបត្របណ្ឌិតពីខាង École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne បាទពីខាងសាលា Polytechnique ផ្នែក បច្ចេកវិទ្យានៅឯ Lausanne ប្រទេស Swiss បាទហើយបច្ចុប្បន្ននេះលោកស្រីបាននឹងកំពុងតែបម្រើការងារជាសាស្ត្រាចារ្យបាទបង្រៀនផ្នែកសហគ្រិនភាពនិងបច្ចេកវិទ្យានៅឯសាលា Base Business School នៅឯទីក្រុងឡុងចក្រភពអង់គ្លេសបាទហើយថ្ងៃនេះក៏ជាកិត្តិយសដោយលោកស្រីបានចូលរួមផ្ទាល់ជាមួយយើងខ្ញុំបាទហើយសូមជម្រាបផងដែរថាលោកស្រីបាននេត្រាគឺមានជំនាញទៅលើផ្នែកសហគ្រិនភាពទៅលើផ្នែកអ្នកវិនិវត្តន៍បាទហើយលោកស្រីក៏បានចូលរួមច្រើនទៅក្នុងកិច្ចការនៃការស្រាវជ្រាវថាតើការធ្វើពាណិជ្ជកម្មការធ្វើអាជីវកម្មផ្សារភ្ជាប់ជាមួយនឹងស្មារតីអ្នកវិនិវត្តន៍រួមជាមួយនឹងអត្តពលមកលើសេដ្ឋកិច្ចសង្គមរបស់យើងជារួមទៅលើ social impact នោះតើមានការវិវត្តយ៉ាងណាខ្លះបាទហើយលោកស្រីក៏បានធ្វើការច្រើនជាមួយនឹងធុរកិច្ចថ្មីបាទផ្នែក start up ផងដែរបាទហើយបច្ចុប្បន្នបាទលោកស្រីក៏កំពុងតែបន្តការងារបាទរបស់លោកស្រីដែលខ្ញុំគិតថាបន្តិចទៀតនេះលោកស្រីក៏នឹងជម្រាបជូនបន្ថែមអំពីជីវប្រវត្តិរបស់លោកស្រីផ្ទាល់តែម្ដងបាទថ្ងៃនេះគឺដោយសារតែប្រធានបទរបស់យើងមានលក្ខណៈពិសេសហើយប្រធានបទនេះ NFT នេះគឺទាមទារនៅការប្រើប្រាស់ពាក្យបច្ចេកទេសច្រើនបាទដូច្នេះគឺយើងខ្ញុំសូមការអនុញ្ញាតប្រើប្រាស់ភាសាអង់គ្លេសសម្រាប់កិច្ចសន្ទនារបស់យើងខ្ញុំតែម្ដងបាទសម្រាប់រសៀលនេះបាទហើយសម្រាប់ការឧទ្ទិសនាមរបស់វាគ្មិនរបស់យើងបាទដុកទ័រនេត្រាគឺថាអាដាមលោកជំទាវអរលោកលោកស្រីដែលជាប្រិយមិត្តទាំងអស់គឺអាចធ្វើការសាកសួរបានបើសិនជាមានជាចម្ងល់ឬក៏ជាសំណួរឬក៏ជាមតិយោបល់ដើម្បីចូលរួមបន្ថែមទៀតគឺសូមអញ្ជើញចូលរួមបាទនៅក្នុងកិច្ចពិភាក្សារបស់យើងនេះដែលអាចធ្វើការ comment នៅក្នុងប្រអប់សាររបស់យើងតែម្ដងបាទហើយជាក់ស្ដែងគឺយើងកំពុងតែធ្វើការផ្សាយផ្ទាល់នៅលើ YouTube channel រួមជាមួយនៅលើ Facebook page របស់មជ្ឈមណ្ឌលកម្ពុជា 4.0 ផងដែរបាទOkay, so I think we may give the floor to Dr. Netra for her presentation. And, actually, this is a really new topic to me as well, And personally, I only heard about the word NFT when I saw the news, about Jake Dorsey. You remember last March, I saw a news that the first ever tweet of Jake Dorsey was sold for nearly $3 million. That's a huge amount, to buy a tweet. And I remember I asked myself at that time, how come can we also can sell a tweet right now, in our world, So this is something new, really new to the digital sphere and also to the economy in real, in real as well, So maybe we need to know more about that and how best we could prepare ourselves for the whatever to come, in the NFT related field. So I may give the floor to Dr. Netra to give the presentation on that. And as I mentioned, if you have any comments or questions or, you would like to give feedbacks, please, do not hesitate to do so on the, you can comment and then we will see what are the main points that we should discuss further with our speaker. Please, Dr. Netra, the floor is yours. Yeah, thank you.
I would like to switch to English because this is quite a technical topic, but feel free, please, to ask me any questions in Khmer, and I'd be happy to also answer. Before I start, I wanted to give a huge thanks to the Cambodia 4.0 Center. I'm so proud and happy that my country has a center like this. This is more than we can say for many other countries around the world who seem to hide from the upcoming impacts of technology. And the truth is that we can't hide from it. So all we can do is try to educate ourselves, educate each other, and prepare ourselves as best we can. So I'm very thankful for the invitation from Bang Nimol and for the leadership of Bang Patien Hunmani, and for your invitation also to Savandrat today. So I want to start today by giving a little bit of introduction about myself, and excuse my dog in the background. Just because I know that this sounds like a very strange field, and Savandrat said that Jack Dorsey sold this tweet for millions of dollars, which sounds very strange. And so I don't know who is watching right now, but it might seem very odd and out of reach. So I just want to start a little bit with my background, so you know that I grew up in Sakmai. I went to ISPP and I studied, as Savandrat said, in New York, in Paris, and in Switzerland, where I earned my bachelor's, my master's, and my doctorate. And along the way, I had the great privilege to work with many different startups and companies during my studies. And as Savandrat said, now I teach entrepreneurship and purpose-driven innovation at Bayes Business School in London, formerly known as Cass Business School. How did I get into blockchain technology and Web 3.0, actually? Since I started off very interested in social innovation and how to use companies and businesses to actually deliver the essential goods and services that make our lives better and safer and more fun. How did I move from social innovation to blockchain technology and what you'll see I call the industry of Web 3.0? So I started off in my work being invited to be a judge or mentor at different startup competitions, including Seed Stars, Hello Tomorrow, Mass Challenge. These are international startup competitions and accelerator programs. And this put me in touch with a lot of different startups, in addition to the startups that my own students had the chance to create in the classroom. And so I started actually eventually advising different blockchain ventures, such as Sarcophagus.io. So you can check it at sarcophagus.io. They're a venture that works with data management and encryption, with really interesting applications in terms of families who create wills and want the will to be safeguarded by multiple children and not just one person. You can think about the benefit of having a digital version compared to a paper version in case something happens to extremely important data. But you can also think, in the case of Web 3.0, the benefit of having a shared document. And I don't mean shared by Google Docs or by Dropbox. I mean that the ownership and the integrity of the document is shared, so that no one person can actually change it without the input of the other owners, equal owners of that digital asset. So we can go a little bit more into the technical aspects of that later on. It's actually a venture that I also had the opportunity to learn a lot from. Another venture that I was an advisor, that I'm still an advisor to, is a venture called Ariani. They are a luxury and digital experience and asset management venture. They create digital passports for luxury goods that give users access to incredible experiences, but also give brands knowledge of who their customer base is while respecting the user's privacy. You may know from the documentary Social Dilemma, which is on Netflix, that companies like Facebook, Twitter use, copy, save a lot of our personal data. And many times we actually don't get too much in return. So I think this is a really exciting innovation that protects user data. Let me go through a couple more things. I want to take this opportunity to share as much as possible so that we can maybe use these as future conversation points later on. I hope that this is only the beginning of our conversation. So let me go a little bit more into the other points. I started getting excited about blockchain technology, what we now call crypto, even though we are really talking about the broader infrastructure of blockchain, when I started collecting digital art and collectibles in 2021, January 2021. So digital art, you might all be aware of. It's art that's created on your computer. Cambodians are so good at Photoshop and all of these things. And collectibles. So collectibles, you need to think about these like Pokemon cards, or like a rare 1,000 real bill These are rare items that have a lot of value. And even though they're not so special, because what can you do with a very old 1,000 real bill? You might not even be able to spend it. It has value because it's a rare one that has survived, or maybe it's the only one that exists today. And so I started collecting these digital arts and collectibles, and I had the pleasure and luck of collecting what is called a Bored Ape from Bored Ape Yacht Club. You can see the logo on the right, the circle there. They're creating great brand experiences now, partnering with companies like Adidas. I also collected art on on platforms called artblocks.io, Zora.io, and OpenSea.io. And eventually I started creating my own digital art to sell, to share kind of the story of my ancestors who went through the Khmer Rouge as well. And separate from the art, I also used what we call decentralized financial services. So these decentralized financial services include companies or what we call decentralized autonomous organizations like Aave or Maker. And the key differentiator between using Aave versus, let's say, using a bank called like ABA, for example, is that these decentralized financial services really seek to eliminate the need for human activity and human error. So we really avoid these issues like human mistakes or human influence. And instead, it's all digital and all online and all voted on a commonly owned protocol. Well, we can go a little bit into that also later, but I'll just close up to say that I've also been involved in community-led social clubs like Friends with Benefits, which sounds like a funny name, but honestly, it's just a peer-to-peer entrepreneurship and creative entrepreneurship support group. And they use tokens to control the governance of that organization. And when you join as a member, you actually also join as a co-owner who can vote on decisions. So most recently, the community voted on accepting investment from a famous VC called A16Z. And this was exciting because we got to actually be involved in the decision. All right, so that's a little bit about me and about how I got into Web3. I'm thinking, Savandrat, I can start off very briefly about introducing Web3 and then welcome some of your questions. How does that sound?
Yes, that's okay. Yeah, please.
Wonderful. And feel free, please, to stop me, Savandrat. I know you're probably looking at the comments. In case there are any comments or anything that I need to repeat, please let me know. Okay. So, okay, wonderful. Is there anything?
No, it's okay. I will look after the comment section. It's okay. Yeah.
Okay, great. Wonderful. So I want to talk to you today to give you a short introduction to non-fungible tokens or NFTs and why they matter. I think the key thing that you need to take away from NFTs is not the big crazy numbers as Savandrat cited at the beginning, but rather that NFTs are a type of digital asset. So in many countries around the world, digital assets and currencies are heavily regulated. What we need to understand is that NFTs are not like money. They're more like media or files. They can be documents, they can be audio clips. And the key thing is that they are non-fungible and unique. So remember the 1,000 real bill that I mentioned before. This 1,000 real bill is the only one in this case that exists. In that way, that is why we call it non-fungible. Now, before I go into a little bit about NFTs and the industry behind it, the development there, I want to also zoom out just a tiny bit and explain why this matters to us. Why should So first of all, we need to care about this because this is a real phenomenon. As I was discussing with Savandrat before the session, we cannot ignore the fact that the ownership certificate of each of these monkeys that you see, these apes, is so valuable that it reaches these amounts. Now, in this case, these bored apes are considered rare because they're only 10,000. And within the 10,000, there are only some apes that don't have clothes, or there are only some apes with pink hair. And so this has created a new market that is in many senses similar to fashion and similar to gaming, where the value of this digital asset goes up immensely. Another key milestone from last year relates to an artist called Mike Winkelmann. Mike Winkelmann today is the highest paid artist alive. He sold this work that you see here, which is a collection of 5,000 different art pieces that he made himself, all in one canvas. And this digital piece sold for $69 million. Now, he actually didn't get all of that $69 million. He sold it to someone and that person sold it on. But still, he's probably the best known digital artist today in this sphere. And we can guess a little bit about why this happened and why this happened last year. Unfortunately, I'm doing this talk with you via YouTube and Zoom and Facebook Live. So this shows the importance now of digital interactions. And this was a way for art collectors to continue collecting a new type of art using the infrastructure that we have today, the digital infrastructure. Let me stop sharing my screen and move on to a second part that I'd like to share with you. Here we go. Another type of art that was sold also appears very gimmicky. So this is an art piece sold by Banksy that was then destroyed, but this actually increased the value of the NFT that was associated with this art piece. It increased the value of the digital certificate that was associated with this art piece. I'm having a few technical issues here. One moment. Apologies here, I have a little bit of a technical issue. Let me see if I can restart. Oh. Okay. Okay. Let me return to this. So the reason why I share all of these crazy numbers is because, as Savanrath mentioned before, we're dealing with these large numbers. And so it makes it easy to think that NFTs might be simply what we call a hype. So a big deal with nothing behind. And so I want to share this graph with you because what I think is important to understand is the fact that hype is expectations that are greater than reality. And that is the case for any new innovation, as the reality needs to catch up. So this graph here on the left-hand side shows all of the different types of technologies that follow what we call the hype cycle, which means that at the beginning, we don't think much of the technology. We think it's a bad technology. We think that it's not going to affect our daily life. But then over time, we start to think, oh, NFTs can be used for different things, can be used for art, can be used for luxury, can be used for other cultural industries. And when people try to actually apply that art, that NFT to art, we actually get to see some mistakes or some places where the NFT is not as good as what was there before. And so this creates what we call a trough of disillusionment. So we actually get upset, the expectations go down. And this is actually extremely normal and often leads to finally what we call a slope of enlightenment and then a plateau of productivity. And this productivity means that we actually understand what NFTs are. We actually understand how they can be used for, and we understand how they can be built. So just to put this into context, we all use Word documents. We can use Microsoft Word .doc. We can use a Mac version. We can use Google Docs. We can use OpenOffice. It's still a Word document or a text document, let's say. NFTs are similar. It's simply a type of file, and we can still build it many different ways. And we're still in that process right now. So I would say that we're nearing the peak, would be my perspective for NFTs, but it's really important for us to understand it now, even if we have some disappointments later on, because this type of technology has already proven to have several key and exciting uses. And I'll show you a few of those. All right. So as I've mentioned before, segments within the art industry are already benefiting from non-fungible tokens, and practitioners are experimenting. And for example, I have benefited from as an artist and as a collector. NFT technologies have been around several years, since 2011, 3 years after the Bitcoin white paper, and they've been used successfully in collectibles in 2008 to 2020 to today. For example, this is from August 2020. Paris Hilton auctioned off an NFT for charity. It's a stupid, very simple cat picture. And this NFT actually allowed the proceeds to go to charity. But for example, the company that I advise called Ariani, they've been working with a luxury company called Breitling. And now every single watch that you buy with Breitling will come with an NFT digital passport. So let me share a little bit about why this matters before we go a little bit more into the history. I want you all there to take a look at this picture, which looks at Web 1.0, Web 2.0, and Web 3.0. NFTs and crypto and blockchain technology are a key part of what we call Web 3.0. So I'll show you a little bit what I mean about that first. But essentially, maybe many of you are old enough to remember how it was to use the internet when it first started. You had your username and your password, and you could connect to a website. The website was often still static. The website was often populated by images, text, and content created by one company, the company that created that website. Today, with Web 2.0, we use apps and websites on our phone. We have access to really complex and high definition media. And we often use one of these platforms' accounts to sign in. We can sign in with Google, we can sign in with Facebook, we can sign in with Twitter, to all sorts of different companies. And in Web 2.0, the platform is actually the one who wins. In Web 3, we have a different situation. Google no longer owns our ID. Facebook no longer needs to own our account information, and neither does Twitter. With Web 3, the idea is that the NFT, or whatever identifying information we have about ourselves, all resides in our blockchain wallet, which we own by ourselves. Now, I think for a country like Cambodia, but also like many other countries, this is very exciting, because if we look at what we call big tech, which are the companies of Google, Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, Apple, all around the world, developed countries criticize the overarching influence of these companies. As I mentioned before, a documentary to watch is The Social Dilemma on Netflix, which shows just how much data all of these companies have on us and how much knowledge they have about our behavior that can influence what we buy, who we talk to, and how much we are on our phones. I know that I have the trouble of being very often on our phones. And so what gets people really excited about Web3 is this idea of getting access to all the same benefits that Google, Facebook, Twitter, and other companies give us, because these companies definitely do provide products and services that make our lives better, but in a way that protects our data. So this is a lot of information. Let me walk you through it one by one. In Web 1, what do you see? You usually see static websites, so websites that are still. Who creates it? Usually one company. What is being sold? Usually a one-time purchase of a physical asset on a public infrastructure. So this means you might buy some dog food, or you might buy a shirt or food, and you usually would buy it once. What challenges did users face in the past? Slow speeds. What hardware did we use in the past? Usually we look at this on our desktop computer, and the information that we were looking at came from that one company and that one company's servers. In the past, you would log in with one account, and if you forgot your password, you would ask that one company to help you. The data would be owned by the company creating the content. And the biggest winner in Web 1.0, so let's say about 20 years ago, would be the central organization. So if you work for that company that has a great website, that company wins, meaning that they create a lot of profit, and the people who work for that company, let's say America Online, AOL, they would be successful, and the employees at that company would also be successful because they would have a job in the long term. Now, switch to Web 2.0. Web 2.0 is what we have today. When you look online, what do you see? You see dynamic websites. This means that things are changing. When you go onto Facebook, the data is changing all the time. There's always new information on Instagram whenever you refresh. Who creates it? Facebook and Instagram do not create a lot of content. We are the ones who create it when we take a picture of our food, when we check in at a place. or when we write our status update. What is being sold? Sometimes we have access to free things like on Facebook and Instagram, and ads are sold. So ads are sold to companies, but we can also look, for example, at Netflix. Netflix offers a subscription to an unlimited digital asset on a private platform. You pay one fee per month and you get access to everything. What challenges do users face? A lack of control over personal data and viewership. What hardware does it use? Data is usually viewed on mobile phones sent from outsourced servers, for example, Amazon Web Services. How do you log in? You can log in through that one platform's account. And as you can see, you can also use that account for multiple websites. But this is the key part. Who owns the data? Even though it's a picture of our ktiu or our milkshake or latte, that picture is owned by Facebook and by Instagram. When we take a good picture, it gets many likes and many shares, and that is our payment. 100 likes, 1,000 likes, 1,000 shares. We don't own that information, and we don't get paid. We don't own the revenue from our digital asset, from our data. And so the biggest winner are these platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and so forth. Well, actually, Facebook and Instagram are one company. Now let's move to Web 3.0. So to be clear, Web 3.0 doesn't fully exist yet. We are still somewhat between Web 2 and Web 3. But the goal and what we see happening already with many different types of companies is to have dynamic websites and 3D spaces. The users still create the content, and what is being sold are digital assets with utility, meaning it gives you benefits in physical worlds and virtual worlds. So let's go back to the pictures of the monkeys. I don't know if you remember the apes that I showed earlier. With that ape, I can log in using the data from that ape, special clubs, special chat rooms, special websites where only people who have that membership can actually access. Think about the company Ariani. They give an NFT or a digital passport to an owner, let's say, for example, of an Hermes bag. So I don't have to walk around with an Hermes bag, an Hermes handbag, to get access to certain things. And I don't have to give my name, my address, my phone number, my email to get access to certain things. They know, oh, I like this brand and I actually own the bag. I don't own a copy of the bag. I actually own the bag. And therefore, I get access to better service at stores. I also get access to special online spaces. Now, Hermes hasn't done this yet, but many brands are starting to do so. As I mentioned before, Adidas has started doing so with Bored Ape. Now, what challenges do users face? I have to admit that using crypto and using blockchain ventures is still hard. It's not easy to use yet. And the fact that we own our own ID information means that if I forget my password, I cannot ask Google or Facebook to refresh, to send me a new password. If I lose my password to my wallet, that's it, it's gone. And that's a good thing because it means that no one can steal it. The company cannot decide that they don't like you or that that you violated some terms and delete all of your data. That's a good thing, but it also represents a challenge because digital literacy is not yet widespread, and crypto literacy is still less widespread. Now, what hardware does it use? This will be really exciting for any developers or engineers that are listening. While in the past, we could use outsourced servers like Amazon Web Servers, this still represents what we call a centralized solution, meaning that if for some reason Jeff Bezos gets all of his assets confiscated and Amazon goes down, then we've lost all our data. As a small business owner relying on Amazon Web Services, it's still a central place. Now, Amazon Web Services will tell you, oh no, we have copies of your data in many places, so don't worry. And that's probably true. But the key part is that it all is in a centralized place. So if for some reason they cancel your account or you don't pay or you miss a payment, that data is gone. And the app, the website that runs from that server also doesn't work. What's really exciting about peer-to-peer networks in blockchain, and I'm not talking about the financial component, I'm simply talking about the digital infrastructure, is that this is a peer-to-peer autonomous network that will run forever. So you can put your software on it, and people will be incentivized to maintain the servers. And they do this by mining and by getting a reward from the mining. Now we can go into those technical issues later. I wanted to just finish up here. How do you log in a non-custodial wallet? Here, non-custodial means that you have custody of the wallet, you own the wallet, and then who owns the data? The user. And what's really exciting about Web3 is that the biggest winner might be not Facebook, Amazon, and so forth, making Jeff Bezos the richest man in the world, but actually all of us who use that platform and all of us who create value for that platform. So I'll stop there. I have a few more facts to share, but I'd love to hear from you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Netra, for your presentation. I think we get to know about what the overall idea of what the NFT refer to, what does it mean, and how does it work. And you also connect us with the Web3 information about how would it change the digital world that we are experiencing at the moment. Actually, it's a huge thing, I think, considering how we are interacting all together on different digital platforms in our everyday life. So it's good also to know from the audience, but first let me also come up with a few questions to Dr. Netra. After that, I will open for more questions and comments from the audience. I also look at the comment section. We saw some new comment piling up over there as well. So I will come back to those questions from the public audience later on. Okay, so first, I think the most important things that we have come up with this topic this afternoon is that overall, we know that it's a phenomenon, as you mentioned, that we could not overlook if we are going to, transform our economy and society into a digital economy and society. There is right now the main objective of our country as well. So Cambodia, from Cambodia perspective, as you can see, we are pushing hard together with the engagement from different stakeholders, leading by our royal government, and the private sector, the people, also joining hand together, how better we can benefit from digital economy and digital business, or in this new world. And for you, how best should we consider the emerging NFT in Cambodia case? Maybe you can elaborate on that, and I think some of our audience would also like to know that as well. If you look at Cambodia case, how best should we do, and what should we consider about it? Yeah, please.
Well, I would say the first thing that I would recommend is that everyone continue to learn about this. So there's a lot of information online. You can look on YouTube, or you can join Twitter and join the Twitter spaces. There are actually lots of Cambodian rooms talking about this. And you can also join an app called Clubhouse. Now, just be careful, because with all of these platforms, anyone can speak, and so anyone can say anything. So you really need to, in crypto, we say, do your own research, DYOR. You'll see that. And you also have to understand that just because we see an industry growing or a company successful, this does not mean you should take a financial action towards it. So all of the information I presented today is for educational purposes, and it's not financial advice. So the first thing I would say is please do your own research. The second thing I would say is that be ready, because with any new technology, governments regulate it to protect the interests of the people, and to try and take some time as well to learn about how to best protect the interests of the people. So one good example for those of you who use PassApp or Grab is the ride-sharing industry. So in many cities around the world, taxi drivers, for example, were very upset when Uber and Grab and all these companies came around. And so many cities first made that illegal. But now we see that we can't escape these ride-sharing apps or the sharing economy. And so governments have regulated in a much more nuanced way. Rather than saying no to everything, they actually say, okay, some things are allowed. And this is really important, because what we want to do is we want to help create productive economic activity, meaning that we want to promote activity that creates value. So in some countries, cryptocurrency trading is forbidden. And this is because trading currency, let's say US dollar to real or US dollar to euro, does not actually create value in many cases. It's simply what we call an arbitrage opportunity, meaning that I see that today it's low and tomorrow will be higher, so I trade it. Now, what I would urge Cambodians and anyone who's watching to look at is, of course, learn about the fluctuating cryptocurrencies that go up and down, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend trading that at all. I would say look more about earning, which is not the same as trading, and look more at collecting files that are not currency, meaning media files that rely on blockchain technology but are not currency. So I can share a few more examples, for example, of a really, I think if we look at Philippines, Singapore, and Malaysia, our fellow member states in ASEAN, we can be really inspired. There's a documentary on YouTube about a company called Axie Infinity. Axie Infinity is a gaming company. Now, Cambodians, we know, are good at creating gaming companies, and we're also interested in gaming. So this could be a really great industry for Cambodians to look into. How does Axie Infinity work? In order to play, you need to buy 3 Axies. The Axies look a little bit like Pokemon, and the Axies fight with each other. And when you fight, you win points. And in the Philippines, the points that you win, that you earn, are so valuable that it has actually allowed the Philippines to become a huge cryptocurrency adopter. In fact, the Philippines is one of the top 10 countries in the world to use cryptocurrency, with 20% exposure of the company. Now, when it's all because of this game. You play the game and you get points, and the points are called Smooth Love Potion, SLP. And with those points, you can create more Axies by having them breed together. And this SLP is converted into the local currency. And it's what has allowed many tuk-tuk drivers, for example, who have suffered from COVID and tourism, like many Southeast Asian countries, to earn $300 per month, which is not an insignificant amount. Now, this company has offices in Vietnam, where there is also a 21% adoption of cryptocurrency. Other countries we can look at are Malaysia and Singapore, that have a very open perspective towards blockchain technology and innovation in general. And the person on the cover of Vogue magazine, a big fashion magazine, was actually a crypto artist who, in Singapore, she makes models of women and she dresses them. And her art was so inspiring and so successful that Vogue Singapore put her art on the cover of their magazine only several months ago. So these are all really inspiring examples that we can look at, and we can say that Cambodians are able to do this too. We're very rich in design, culture, fashion, and gaming.
Okay, thank you, Netra. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Netra. And I think what you mentioned earlier, that we need to get ready. Okay, so by getting ready, there are 2 perspectives, of course, like you mentioned, from the entrepreneurial perspective, the collector point of view, and the creator point of view, the artist or whatever, the creator of the digital art, the digital music, or digital collectible, what that could be quite valuable in the future. We just don't know yet. Yeah. So, but from the 2 point of view, can you get a bit more in detail, for Cambodian, like you say, our youth, we have a really young population, right? And I believe there are creative minds, everywhere, in Cambodia. We just need to really make them, dream about it and try something new. So what are the major steps that someone, like a normal youth, a student, let's say in the university, what are the major steps that they need to take, in order to get involved with this, as you mentioned, there are also some risk perspective that we need to take into consideration, of course, yeah, from the financial side, but as well, how best they can prepare themselves, what are the major steps, maybe a quick takeaway, like, you need to do this, that, and that, yeah, please, yeah, thank you.
Sure. So we need all kinds of people, right? We need communicators, we need builders, and we need creative people as well. And so I think the first thing to do is to ask yourself, what do you like to do the best, and what are you good at? So if you're a communicator, what you can do is you can become an expert in this field. You can start to read about it, participate in discussions online. If you're a creative, you can make some art. You might already have some. And you can try to see if you can collaborate with people around the world to sell your art outside. This would be a way for you to earn crypto and to see what it's all about. If you're a builder, let's say you know how to code, then try to learn how to code in Solidity or other types of programming language, because we're still at the very beginning and there's so many things left to build. I would say take a look at Axie Infinity. There are scholarships for people who would like to play the game but cannot buy their own animals online. And that is a great way for you to see what it's like. Please be safe online, because there are still a lot of scams. This is why in the US, we don't let people who are not accredited investors make large investments, because there are many people who look to take advantage. But I think if you start now, there are websites like The Defiant. There are Twitter accounts you can follow. For example, on Twitter, Crypto Beyond Currency, or you can follow me at Netra and at Art10 Studio. I can share these links with you afterwards with my slides.
Okay, thank you. And so, yeah, we got a few questions, and I think someone asked, do you have your own projects with regard to NFT as well? So, yeah, please, Netra, you have any projects, your own projects? Yeah.
So I have some projects that I'm working on. My first project that I've started and completed was an art project where I wanted to make a commentary on memory, history, and identity. And so I minted, which means that I published on the blockchain, different art pieces over the period of 100 days, actually in the tradition of mourning, as we have in Khmer, to show, to make a commentary and show the Khmer Rouge experience. So you can find that on OpenSea.io by looking under Art10 Studio, or you can go to Zora, Z-O-R-A. It's OpenSea.io or Zora.co, and you can find those. That project was sold out, and it also created secondary sales, which means that someone bought it and then someone else bought it from them. And this was very exciting for me, because remember the hype cycle that I talked about before, where you get high expectations and then low expectations. Some people are very excited about crypto and blockchain, and they want to do blockchain for everything. The same way, make an app for everything. But some things are good applications and some things are bad applications. So for me, I was very excited to use blockchain to immortalize Cambodian art, because this is something that is very precious to us and we almost lost at a moment in our history. So this for me is a very good use of blockchain to actually immortalize this data.
Okay.
I think that's one project that I can share, and happy to share more later.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and coming back to Cambodia, there's also a question, when we talk about NFT, we need to talk about blockchain, cryptocurrency, and also the Web3, yeah, right? But, someone just asked that, okay, so as you may know, cryptocurrency is not yet really operational, in Cambodia. And so is that a barrier to the NFT market or tendency in Cambodia, or what do you think, about that? Yeah.
I think that a good example of how regulation is used is with regards to free trade. So for example, some countries allow free trade across borders, and other countries put a lot of taxes and tariffs, or they prevent it completely. Now, some of these countries have good reasons because, as I said before, you want to protect your people, the interests of your people. You want to protect your local industries, especially if there's an industry that's competing outside. So you want to open up in a slow and strategic and intentional way. You want to make sure that the population is ready. So I would say that most populations around the world are not ready. The highest penetration of crypto is in Nigeria and is at 35%. And in most countries, for example, in the United States, is still in the 10%. And so it makes sense that we might want to regulate and prevent the use of cryptocurrency in the very early stages for now. However, I think for the NFT industry and for other blockchain ventures to thrive, these need to be slowly relaxed over time, of course, because that would allow Cambodians to mint and sell their NFTs or participate in other communities themselves, rather than needing to go through a third party or a foreign entity. I think from what I understand, trading cryptocurrency is still heavily regulated, but earning crypto does not seem to be as regulated, which is linked to what I said before about productive entrepreneurship. So earning crypto is like working and getting paid. It's not the same as trading for speculation or for arbitrage, which is not only in some cases non-productive, but can actually be dangerous. So I hope that this complex answer answers the question. And I'm really hopeful because I know how innovative and forward-thinking Cambodians are about this being a thriving industry in the future.
Okay, thank you. So another question, I think someone asked about the digital signature. What do you think about NFT and digital signature for digital content in Cambodia? And they also refer to the smart city 4.0, I think, to the smart governance, maybe, yeah. Please,
okay. So lots of things in there, lots of things in that question. So there was a digital signature, there's smart city, and was there something else?
No, just that. They refer to how do you think about NFT in digital signature for digital content in Cambodia? Yeah.
Oh, digital content. Okay.
Yes.
So I think it's really exciting to look at how NFTs are being used in the media and content space, because in the past, the only thing you could protect was intellectual property. So if someone was using your song, you can only sue them for saying, hey, you're using my song. Now, that is actually counterproductive to creativity, because basically you're trying to get people not to use your song and not to be too inspired by your song. What we have with NFTs is actually a different way of thinking about intellectual property and ownership and revenue. So what we have in some cases is people can use parts of an NFT to do whatever they want, but in the contract, the smart contract of the NFT, which is the software that enables the NFT, whenever that NFT is sold, a portion of that can go back to the original creator. So we basically have this new paradigm, meaning you want to copy my song, go ahead, but make it so that every time a piece sells, I get some revenue off of it. And so I think that's very, very exciting to see how that can influence creative media production in Cambodia. But there was a question about digital signature that I think that is also important to answer. So let me give you two examples because I'm not sure what the meaning of the question is. So there's a DJ called Blau, B-L-A-U, but he spells his name not with a B, but with a 3. And he's actually one of the pioneers in NFTs. And what he did was he auctioned off his music. And if you bid on the auction, he gifted you with an NFT. So it does not mean that you win the music, but he just sent you, let's say, a thank you card, but as an NFT online. It doesn't say anything. It probably just says, thank you for bidding. That's it. Now, that kind of mechanism can actually allow you to compensate the supporters of your music or of your art project. So if someone wanted to support you early on and they have the proof of that, you can automatically send that person using only their account information that you have because you sent that NFT to them in the future, meaning that for all of your future sales, if you become famous especially, that person who supported you early will always get 0.1% or 1% of your revenue. And so this is very exciting because this means that not only the managers are incentivized to market your product, but all of your supporters are incentivized because if you really believe in them, means that you invested them in them in the beginning, you will also get a share of that revenue. So that's one exciting way that digital signatures can be used with content media in Cambodia. There are other questions about smart cities as well. I'm not sure if you want me to address those now.
Yeah, I think I will refer you to another question because it's quite related to what you have just explained on the NFT and the IP. Yeah, the intellectual property. So maybe you can explain more on that. I think, yeah, we use as you mentioned, the blockchain to protect the real identity of the owner, right? And so there are questions about that as well. What is the relation between NFT and IP right? Okay, so yeah, maybe
that's a really, really good question. So let me actually share this with you. Might make it easier. And just for your reference, if these are really great questions because these are questions actually that everyone has around the world since this is so new. So let me explain a little bit more about the technicality of the NFT. So we all know the Mona Lisa. This is a traditional piece of art. Here, as you can see, the content of the art, which is her painting, and the authenticity, the stamp saying it is authentic, is bundled as one. In NFTs, you have a separation between the art piece and the non-fungible token. So, for example, this is on the Ethereum blockchain, but it could be on another type of blockchain. It says this non-fungible token verifies that you are the owner of the art, and the art can be found at this link. Okay, so this link here links to the art piece, right? So this file itself, you can have millions of copies of it. The value is 0 though. What has value is this token, this certificate that says that you own it. And here you have only one, and the value is, in this case, $40,000 US, right? And so what you have here is separation between the ownership, the authenticity, and the art piece. And so to answer the question about IP, let's see, what would be the best way to answer that? To answer the question about IP, what you have is this text area in the NFT, which actually looks more like this, right? So in the NFT, you have the data, the media is the art piece, and you have all sorts of other things, the collection name, the address, the ID. And in this data, you have a description. And in that description, you can say whatever you want. So you can say, the owner of this NFT has full IP rights to do whatever they want with the media. Or you can say, the owner of this NFT owns one copy of the media and may not use it for any other purpose other than for their own enjoyment. Or you can say, the owner of this NFT can use the content of this media however they want, but they must reference me and cite me. Or they might say, this is another example, the owner of this NFT can use this NFT media however they want, including making t-shirts, selling posters, making a movie out of it, as long as the value does not exceed $10,000 per year. If it exceeds that amount, then a partnership will be necessary. So you can see that actually the NFT itself is simply the innovation around the token and the encryption behind the digital certificate. It actually doesn't change. It's completely separate from the IP infrastructure. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, I also got the same question, actually, the Mona Lisa case, like you mentioned, normally we know that there is only one unique, the real one, the real Mona Lisa. But of course, there are hundreds of thousands, maybe thousand or maybe 100,000 of copy of Mona Lisa, right? Yeah, everywhere in the world. But we all know that there's only one Mona Lisa. So sometimes I think the owner, the real owner, they would also make use of that the same way, that the more people popularize it, the image itself, the more valuable their asset will be in the future as well. So I think it's a way to answer the IP and the NFT itself. Yeah. And another question, I think you mentioned do your own research, right? So there's a question about that. Could you suggest some reliable Twitter spaces or Clubhouse channel where they can try the DYO? Yeah.
Yes, of course. So you can view a few of my resources at crypto.netra.club, crypto.netra.club. And you can also follow me at Art10 Studio, so ART10 Studio. You can also follow Beyond Currency, Crypto Beyond Currency, which is another Twitter account that that I manage. And within within Crypto Beyond Currency, for example, you'll see that we invited a number of special guests, including, for example, the founder of Axie Infinity, or NFT experts like Alan Henna. You can find him at Real Alan Henna or at Jiho for the founder of Axie. Take a look really at individuals that have some sort of qualification or experience. So the founders of Axie Infinity definitely have that expertise and experience. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are out there selling kind of get-rich-quick schemes, and that really never exists.
Okay, thank you. So we have a few more questions on the different projects, but I'm not sure whether we have enough time to discuss all of that. Yeah, to our audience, we have so a limited time. I know that you all are excited to hear more about that. maybe we will have a few more sessions in the future regarding this topic. Like Dr. Netrais mentioned, this is just the starting that we have organized the first spotlight session this afternoon, but of course we will do more on that. I think I will take a few more, like let's say someone asked that we consider the NFT, we consider about collectible, right? The collectibles. And so what do you think about its market as Cambodia started to implement the capital gains tax regarding taxation? Yeah. So I'm not sure is there any relation about that, but yeah, there's a question about that. And I think maybe your opinion on that as well. Yeah.
This actually really depends from country to country. So I wouldn't be able to comment on it directly regarding capital gains tax. But what I can say is that different countries have different schemes for categorizing digital assets. So some countries make a difference, which I think is a good thing, between cryptocurrency and things that use blockchain technology, but that are not cryptocurrency, such as NFTs. And then some countries consider the point of sale to be significant. So for example, if you sell an NFT, you are paid in cryptocurrency. The reason why you're paid in cryptocurrency is that is the way to really ensure that the NFT is authentic. Because the way the software works is that you input an amount, and then that contract says that the NFT goes to this person and the payment goes to the other person. So you can pay, let's say, in cash or under the table. In that case, you don't know really where this NFT is coming from and you can't track that. So why am I bringing that up? Because if you get paid in cryptocurrency, some countries consider that should be taxed immediately in the cryptocurrency, and other countries consider it's only taxed if that crypto currency is exchanged into a fiat or a cash-based currency, meaning that only when you, let's say, sell Ethereum for US dollars that you get taxed then. So again, because this is so new, countries are still figuring this out, which puts us, Cambodia, actually in an excellent place, because what we can do is we can learn to see how other countries are doing it and avoid their mistakes.
Yeah. I agree with that as well, because we have to, I think we have to keep on learning from new things, because it keeps evolving really fast. Yeah. And we cannot just say that, okay, we are comfortable with what we are doing, with what we are having. I think we have to be quite ambitious in of course, with precaution, with we need also to take into consideration any risk out there, but at least we need to think about it. I think about it. The more we think about it, the more we get to know how best we could operate it. Yeah. And also from the governance point of view, there are also some questions, but I think you answered already that for Cambodia case, we have to have our proper governance management. I mean the management system for NFT, for cryptocurrency regulation, the way you explained earlier, right? Yeah, because it's really complicated, right? Yeah, it's a really complicated subject that need to be better or well regulated by the state as well, by the government. Yeah, and yeah, also I think there are also a few questions about on which fundamentals should we start if we are to educate our youth about this new opportunity. I think I touched on that already with you earlier. Yeah, as well. And okay. a few projects they mentioned Axie Infinity Gaming NFT Revolution or Ponzi scheme. They asked about your shot on that, and the Cardano NFT projects, you know. I think maybe Asian would like to touch on that a few points. And last but not least, I think we come to the end, and the maybe you know, if you can elaborate on that a bit more, and then I have the you know, maybe we need your comment, your thought on to what extent can the NFT phenomenon grow in the next 5 years. Yeah, maybe we look into the future a bit, you know, so that it also provides a perspective, you know, how best we could look at that. Yeah, please.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I want to just say that, so let me comment just on a few things. So first of all, Savanrat, your example about Mona Lisa and the fact that the copies, the postcards, T-shirts of Mona Lisa doesn't decrease the value of Mona Lisa, but actually increases the value. I thought the way you said that was really perfect, because this is actually a key thing that is difficult for people to grasp, but I really like your explanation. Secondly, in terms of regulation, as things are changing so fast, as you said, I think what's important is for us to be flexible and to, again, learn from other countries' mistakes and successes. So if you look at El Salvador, for example, recently they voted Bitcoin as a legal tender, meaning that if you want to pay your barber who cut your hair in Bitcoin, the barber has to accept it. And this is really exciting for countries with smaller economies, because as you might know, there's a huge reliance on the US dollar in many countries. And so different cryptocurrencies might actually allow us to have some independence from that. But what's really important is that we do things carefully, of course, and not rush, but remain flexible. And then I'll comment on Cardano, Axie Infinity, and the outlook. So for me, what is really key about different crypto projects is their usage and adoption. So for me, I'm personally not interested in buying a currency because I think it's going to go up. And what's really interesting for me is to buy more assets. So for example, the way that I interact with Ethereum, where I live in Switzerland, is that I purchase Ethereum in order to pay for certain utilities and services, including, for example, the price of uploading my file to the blockchain, essentially. And so that's, for me, a utility, not a cryptocurrency. And it's exciting because I'm actually using the digital infrastructure for something. I'm uploading a file, I'm interacting with online communities, I'm building things. With Axie Infinity, for example, you can buy on their blockchain a little animal, and you use the animal to fight in the game, right? So you're not just buying the cryptocurrency because you think it's going to go up or whatever, for whatever reason. And Cardano is a project that several critics have noted has not had many projects yet. So the currency is there, there's a token, but what that token allows you to do other than buy other tokens from other projects was not clear. So for many, many years, many critics actually were skeptical, I think, of buying Cardano because, like Bitcoin in a way, it was useless. It's only useful as money, but not even money. It's more of as a token. Now, what's really exciting now is that we see some new developments in the Bitcoin ecosystem. You can also have NFTs in the Cardano ecosystem. I saw recently some developments there too. Now, again, so do your own research. I would tend to go for the projects that I believe in, that I think are making a good difference in the world, and the projects that I want to support as a stakeholder, but also as a user. So I would purchase things that I would use. I wouldn't purchase things for speculation. So I would ask you to do your own research there. And I hope then that answer is also clear on my stance for Axie Infinity. I've met the founders. They've been working on this gaming project for many, many years. They have 1 million daily active users. They have $7.2 billion in volume traded. The gaming industry, I think, is one that we should all keep our eyes on, because when we talk about the metaverse, so the world that's online, the industry that knows this best, even though cinema is trying to catch up and fashion is trying to catch up, the industry that knows that best is actually the gaming industry, because they immediately invited you into a virtual world when you first start playing. And they know that users want to take their points from one game to another. They know that users want to take their skills from one game to another. They know that users want to take, let's say, the prizes, like the swords or the guns or whatever, from one game to another. And with Axie, you can do that by training your animal and using that in multiple settings. So I would really recommend that you check that out. Now to Savanro's great question about NFTs in the next 5 years. There's a joke in the crypto space and NFT space that 1 week is 3 months, 3 months is 1 year, 1 year is 5 years. And I can tell you, based on my field work from last year in 2021, that everything moved so fast. One concern that people have with the environmental impact of blockchain has allowed different blockchains to move very quickly from what is called proof of work to proof of stake. And there have been, for example, developments in chains such as Polygon, which is considered a layer 2 of Ethereum, that we frankly wouldn't have expected to come around this fast. So I really cannot say what my prediction would be in the next 5 years, but I would say that if all goes well, we might not actually talk about NFTs or crypto anymore. The same way we don't talk about SMTP when we send an email. The same way we don't talk about TCP/IP when we go onto the website. We just go to the website. Yeah, so I feel like this is a technology that's not going to go away, and we should rather use the technology for what it's best used for. Right now, there are many different applications for it, but we don't actually know what it's best used for. That's why we need more people to try and test and build. But I'm very optimistic. I'm very optimistic because I think the right people are being attracted to the space right now. And I'm very, very hopeful.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Netra. I think, with that, maybe we can wrap up our sessions. And, sorry to the audience, who are just, asking a few more questions, but actually I think, at least you have got, I think, the overall pictures of what the NFT is about, and in relation to different fields, to the Cambodian case as well, right? Yeah. And looking into the future, we are also hopeful, that we can get to know more about it, and maybe get involved, our people who are out there, who are the major players in the field of technology, please try to, I think, try to find more information about it by doing your own research, and also, keep track with the new changing, as Dr. Netra has mentioned, maybe a month could be 3 months, or 1 year could be 5 years, like they say. So everything just change really fast, So maybe in the next few years, things will be also new again to us, even to the expert as well, I think. So okay, and I think I could wrap it up. And yes, and thank you for joining us, and thank you to Dr. Netra for taking your time while you are in Cambodia, to join the sessions. And សូមអរគុណបាទចុងក្រោយនេះក៏សូមអរគុណផងដែរទៅដល់ទូទាំងសាធារណជនទាំងអស់បាទប្រិយមិត្តដែលកំពុងតាមដានទស្សនាការផ្សាយរបស់មជ្ឈមណ្ឌលកម្ពុជា 4.0 របស់យើងបាទហើយអរគុណជាពិសេសទៅដល់វាគ្មិនរបស់យើងគឺបណ្ឌិតប៉ានេត្រាបាទដែលបានចូលរួមជាមួយយើងនៅសៀលនេះបាទហើយបាទអរគុណច្រើនស្វានរត់បាទចំពោះទូរទស្សនិកជនទាំងអស់គ្នាប្រិយមិត្តទាំងអស់គ្នាក៏សូមបន្តគាំទ្រនៅរាល់សកម្មភាពរបស់មជ្ឈមណ្ឌលកម្ពុជា 4.0 ដែលត្រូវបានបង្កើតឡើងក្នុងបុព្វហេតុចូលរួមជាមួយរាជរដ្ឋាភិបាលជាមួយគ្រប់ភាគីពាក់ព័ន្ធទាំងអស់ទាំងផ្នែកឯកជនប្រជាពលរដ្ឋប្រតិបត្តិការទាំងអស់ដើម្បីជំរុញការកសាងសេដ្ឋកិច្ច Digital នៅកម្ពុជារបស់យើងបាទហើយដោយដែលដំណឹងទីលោកស្រីបានជ្រាបហើយគឺការងារនេះត្រូវការចូលរួមបាទសមិទ្ធផលរួមដើម្បីប្រយោជន៍រួមដូច្នេះយើងខ្ញុំគិតថាការចូលរួមចំណែកពីគ្រប់ភាគីពាក់ព័ន្ធបាទសុទ្ធតែមានតម្លៃហើយសុទ្ធតែមានសារៈសំខាន់ទាំងអស់បាទហើយសូមបន្តការចូលរួមនេះបន្តទៀតបាទហើយយើងសង្ឃឹមថាកម្ពុជារបស់យើងបាទយើងពិតជានឹងអាចសម្រេចបាននៅក្តីសុបិនរបស់បងប្អូនជាពលរដ្ឋយើងក៏ដូចជាទិសដៅនៃការអភិវឌ្ឍរបស់រាជរដ្ឋាភិបាលនិងចក្ខុវិស័យវែងឆ្ងាយរបស់យើងដើម្បីជំរុញការកសាងសេដ្ឋកិច្ចសង្គមរបស់យើងឲ្យកាន់តែរីកចម្រើនបាទហើយមានកំណើនប្រកបដោយចីរភាពប្រកបដោយបរិយាបន្នដែលនឹងបានជាផ្លែផ្កាទៅដល់ប្រជាពលរដ្ឋគ្រប់រូបតួអង្គគ្រប់គ្នាផងដែរបាទខ្ញុំបាទអង្គស្វណ្ណរតន៍បាទក្នុងនាមមជ្ឈមណ្ឌលកម្ពុជា 4.0 ក៏សូមថ្លែងអំណរគុណចំពោះលោកស្រីប៉ានេត្រាជាថ្មីម្ដងទៀតនិងជូនពរលោកស្រីប្រកបដោយសេចក្តីសុខសុភមង្គលនិងជូនពរឲ្យដំណើរនៅក្នុងការធ្វើដំណើរប្រកបដោយសុវត្ថិភាពផងដែរបាទសូមអរគុណនិងសូមជម្រាបលាទាំងអស់គ្នាបាទសូមអរគុណបាទ